We are a liberal and inclusive community where members and friends gather to support each other in their spiritual journeys and to give service to the wider world of which we are part. If you would like to learn more about our congregation and our faith tradition of Unitarian Universalism, we encourage you to contact Harold Stillman or Lauren Normay from our membership committee and visit our website at www.fourthuu.org. And I'll just take advantage of being up here. There's an announcement in the Fourth Word this week with the annual General Assembly coming up. We're interested to know if there's a member who wants to volunteer to be our delegate. See me.
Thank you, Ralph, and thank you everyone who is here with us this morning and everyone who is live streaming, everyone who has gathered here in our sanctuary. I'm Reverend Lane Cobb, and I have the honor of being the lead minister here at Fourth UU of Westchester. Could I have 2 volunteers to come up, please, and light our candles this morning? Okay, Leah, come on up. Come this way. Bob will tell you everything, all you need to know. Candle lighting 101. Thank you. So once again, welcome all. So we're so grateful for your presence here this morning. And we have a guest preacher here today, and we're so grateful to have him with us as well. Our guest preacher today is Reverend Pat Jackson. Reverend Jackson is a native of Baltimore, Maryland, and currently lives in the northern Dutch city of Groningen with his wife Janet and daughter Elise. He is a Presbyterian pastor who in 2020 launched a nonprofit called Interwoven Congregations, which is dedicated to helping faith communities of all traditions in the United States be agents for racial justice and healing. He's an avid photographer, writer, and movie buff who loves exploring cultures and building community. In this morning's message, Reverend Jackson will reflect on his personal journey into a deeper encounter of white supremacy in his own life and in American society at large. He will share about a few people and moments that have been pivotal in that journey and invite all of those gathered to reflect upon their own life experiences and contemplate what the implications of these inquiries might be for us as individuals, for our communities, and for our nation. In recent years, Unitarian Universalists have been working to identify and dismantle racism within our faith, grappling with our own relationship with white supremacy and the need to do a deeper examination into the ways in which our traditions manifest in ways that are out of alignment with our call to justice and inclusion. We welcome this timely discussion and are grateful to everyone who has gathered here. Thank you for those of you who have come from Race Amity. Mark Lieberman is here from Indivisible Yorktown. Thank you to our members from White Plains, the Community Unitarian Universalist Congregation in White Plains, and also from the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of the Hudson Valley in Croton. Following our service this morning, there will be space for anyone who is interested to continue this timely conversation during our coffee hour. So please don't leave. Our chalice lighting words this morning are from the Reverend Cara Stultz Costello. She writes, "Holy fire, help me rise in truth, even when it costs me comfort. Let me celebrate the beauty you placed within me and others, especially those the world deems unworthy. May my life be a witness to grace, to justice, to love that does not flinch." Amen. Chalice ever be a symbol of our unity, that in this hour we now unite our separate flames to make one light. Our unison affirmation words can be found in your order of service. Please join with me. Love is the spirit of this fellowship. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. Our opening hymn is number 168 in your gray hymnal. One more step. Please rise in body or spirit and join me in singing. Hymn number 168.
Those who are familiar will sing it once through in the beginning, but it's a super song on that. We just added each verse. So hopefully it's easy to catch up. One more step, we will take one more step, till there is peace for us and everyone will take one more step. One more word, we will say one more word, till every word is heard by everyone. We'll say one more word, one more prayer. We will say one more prayer, till every prayer is shared.
I felt like I had Christmas. Thank you. So our reading this morning is by Reverend Dr. Takia Nur Amin, and this is an excerpted selection from her writing. It is called The Call of Our Faith. In every moment, life is giving us an invitation. I really believe that. I really believe that in every moment, life is giving us an invitation to do the things that are the most loving and life-affirming, and that doing the loving and life-affirming thing is always the answer when you don't know what to do or if you're feeling unsure. There's always a moment of invitation to rethink or reevaluate. We're being invited into this cosmic dance of renewal and joy and justice. But you have to make the justice. It doesn't just show up without our participation or our effort. Things don't get better just by us waiting for them to happen. We all have to engage in the better making from wherever we are. And each moment presents an invitation for us to do that. I don't want us to forget that. Even if, like me, you are tired or feeling frustrated or feeling unsure, the invitation to participate in a manner that is about living our values, living love and justice, is still there, no matter what else is going on. Ask yourself, what's the most loving, life-affirming thing that I can do in this moment for myself or for other people? Sometimes it's get some rest. Sometimes it's apologize for something you've done. Sometimes it's reconsider how you're using your money or other resources in the broader world. To me, if we're talking about racial justice, love is about acknowledging that there has been wrong, that there has been harm perpetrated, and that whether you personally feel like you participated in it or not, you are likely benefiting from the inequitable results of that harm. Even if you are a person who wants to say, well, I didn't participate in making things this way, if you are benefiting from the ill-gotten gains, then you have some responsibility to make things right, especially if you then turn around and say that you believe in justice and equity. You are not let off the hook, no matter what. We are at the time of our service when we share our joys and concerns. And if you would like a candle lit and would like to share a joy or a concern, Bob will bring around a microphone. Please speak clearly into the microphone so that you can be heard by everyone. If you would like a candle lit in silence, feel free to just raise your hand and I shall do that. We light a final candle for all these joys and concerns, spoken and unspoken. For all in search of a home, for all who are fighting for their lives, for anyone who feels unwanted, unheard, misunderstood. You have a home here in this place. May these candles light your way to freedom and liberation. We need you. We need your voice. We hold space in our hearts for your health and well-being. And may our prayers manifest as loving action in the world that makes this world a better place for everyone, a safer place for everyone, a loving place for everyone. Amen. Let us just hold a moment of silence, please. As our musicians sing Spirit of Life, you can join them. The words appear in your order of service.
Oh, 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 hello. You just one cup for me. Can I have one? Is that right? Understand what that's
Giving life the shape of justice. Whose hope he grows, set me free. Spirit of God, come to me.
There's stuff on the back. That's all. That's that.
Thank you. It was lovely. So we've now come to the part of our service where we open our hearts and our wallets and give generously to those things that we care most about. We will have two collections this morning. One is to benefit our congregation here at 4th UU, and one is to benefit our community partner,
What are you doing?
Open Arms for Refugees.
Stuff that's cooking.
The basket with the cloth that Gretchen has is for the Open Arms for Refugees. The ones without the cloth that Bob has is for our congregation. And we thank you.
You have to leave the plate there?
Yes, and I'll get my bagel after.
No, I don't.
If you are on, just a sec, I'm sorry. If you're online and like to give, Open Arms to Refugees is, you can Google that. And also 4thuu.org, you can Google us and also donate online.
Wait till you come
I'm
get it.
sorry. Thank you, Pam, for that interruption. Sorry. Needed to get that public service announcement in there.
Give light and people will find a way is a quote attributed to Elevator, the famous civil rights activist and organizer. Baker used this quote to convey the idea that people with knowledge and resources allows them to find their own path toward progress and change, rather than relying solely on leaders or external forces. Baker's philosophy championed grassroots organizing and the empowerment of individuals to take ownership of their own struggles. Give light, and people will find a way. Give light, and people will find People will find the way. Show love. People will find a way. People will find the way. I do believe. People will find the way. I do believe. People will find the way. I do
Thank you, everyone. So please welcome our guest preacher, Reverend Pat Jackson of Interwoven Congregations.
Good morning. I love UUs. I do. I do. First worked with UUs in 2022 with UU the Vote when we were marching with the Poor People's Campaign in Washington, D.C. And then in 2024, Reverend Sherman Logan of First Unitarian Universalist in Richmond, Virginia, served breakfast for the 98 marchers that we helped organize from Georgia coming up for the 2024 March on Washington. They were fantastic. And I continue to work with Mel Hardy, who's with All Souls Unitarian in DC. Mel and I hosted a tour at an exhibit in DC 12 days ago, I think, and had a great experience. So I love UUs, and I'm really grateful to be here today and appreciate Lane's generous invitation to be here. So many thanks to everyone. Have you ever done something without fully thinking it through? I was only about 2 years out of college from the University of Michigan. I was living in Washington, D.C., and a friend of mine was getting married back in Michigan, in Grand Haven, Michigan, on the very west coast of Michigan, about halfway up. And she invited me to the wedding, and I was going to go. Good friend. And so I got up at 6 a.m. that morning, had packed the car the night before. I didn't have a lot to take, but had thrown stuff in, was ready to go, was on the road at 6 a.m. for what would be a 12-hour drive with a couple stops. The wedding was that evening at 7 o'clock. I didn't think it was necessary to make a hotel reservation ahead of setting out on the trip. I just, book in whatever place I found when I got to town. It was a hot day, and my car was turning into something of a science experiment around Ohio when it was mid-90s, and the Doritos at that time, and it's a road trip, were starting to fill the whole car with not only the smell, but there's certain growths that I think were happening. The bottom line was I knew that I was going to need that hotel room because I was desperately in need for a shower before showing up for a wedding. And I pulled into Grand Haven right on time. It was around 6 o'clock. And I had noticed as I drove in that there was a lot of activity on the lake. There appeared to be these huge bobbing Budweiser bottles that were, huge balloons. I wasn't sure what was going on, but I was driving on looking for my hotel. The Grand Haven Holiday Inn said no vacancy. I went a little bit further. The Grand Haven Motor Lodge said no vacancy. And the next one, it was 6:15, and I wasn't seeing any vacancy. So I pulled into a hotel and said, I know, I said to the clerk, that your sign says no vacancy. What's going on? And he said, don't you know what this weekend is? And I'm like, well, it's a wedding weekend for my friend. And he said, well, maybe, but it's also the weekend for the National Outboard Motorboat Championships in the United States. You're not going to find a hotel room for 30 miles. And I thought, holy smokes, I have this wedding now in 45 minutes. And he said, well, what you could do is drive around some neighborhood streets, and you might find someone that is letting a room. You know, there's some B&Bs that people do this informally in the holiday season, and you might have some luck. So I head off into some neighborhoods, and I don't see anything like that. Maybe a B&B here or there, but it was no vacancy. 6:30. I'm still going around and looking, finding nothing. 6:45. I see a gentleman on his lawnmower, the tractor type. He's sitting up cutting his front lawn. And I whipped my car into his driveway. I got out, he sees me, cuts the motor, and I walked over and I said, hi, I'm Pat. I left Washington, D.C. this morning at 6 a.m. because I'm coming to attend a wedding that's starting in 14 minutes, and I need a shower. Can I borrow your bathroom? He said, sure. We go into the house. His wife, I'm not lying about any of this, his wife is in the hallway, and he says, Mary, this is Pat. He's using our shower. I was in the bathroom, stripping, and it had not been more than 90 seconds since I had pulled into this man's driveway. I've since wondered about that day. What would have happened in that interaction if I was black? Would he have said, come on in? I hope so. But I've also wondered, what would I have done if he was black? Would I have pulled my car into the driveway, or would I have kept on going? Racial bias is real. The prejudice we hold in our hearts, it's real. White privilege, the benefits that we have as white folk, are real. Peggy McIntosh coined that phrase, white privilege, back in 1972 when she imagined this invisible backpack that white folks have on their backs, and we go around, and it gives us access to all sorts of things. So we can talk about white privilege, and if we're white, that might start to make us feel a little uncomfortable. But there's another phrase that probably even more so is likely to stir some defensiveness. Some folks might even just shut down and say, this is not about me. And that phrase is white, what? White supremacy. Who do you think of when you hear a sentence that, this person is a white supremacist? What comes into your mind? KKK, neo-Nazi. In other words, it certainly wouldn't be us, right? Well, okay. So perhaps them, but not us, right? Wouldn't be us. A couple months ago, we did a public reading online of King's letter from a Birmingham jail. It's brilliant. And in that letter, he says the following to people like us. And I want to invite you to substitute where he uses the phrase, where you hear me read his words, and he uses the phrase white moderate. I want to invite you to think white progressive. So this is this little excerpt from his letter. I must confess, that over the past few years, I have been gravely disappointed with the white moderate. I have almost reached the regrettable conclusion that the Negro's great stumbling block in his stride towards freedom is not the white citizen's counselor or the Ku Klux Klanner, but the white moderate, who is more devoted to order than to justice, who prefers a negative peace, which is the absence of tension, to a positive peace, which is the presence of justice, who constantly says, I agree with you in the goal you seek, but I cannot agree with your methods of direct action, who paternalistically believes he can set the timetable for another man's freedom, who lives by a mythical concept of time, and who constantly advises the Negro to wait for a, quote, more convenient season. Shallow understanding from people of goodwill is more frustrating than absolute misunderstanding from people of ill will. Let's give that again. Shallow understanding from people of goodwill is more frustrating than absolute misunderstanding from people of ill will. Lukewarm acceptance is much more bewildering than outright rejection. Who are the people that we're talking about when we talk about folks who experience, for whom white supremacy is a part of their life? Who are we talking about? Is it only those people, or is it me? Is it you? The thing that we've come to learn is that racism operates on an unconscious basis. It's underneath. And that's important because you and I have ethical principles, right? I was wondering, what would you say is your ethical plumb line? What's your ethical North Star? For me, it's to love the Lord my God with all my heart, all my strength, and all my mind, and to love my neighbor as myself. And of course, famously begs the question from the lawyer who stands up and says, yeah, but who's my neighbor? And Jesus goes on to talk about this Good Samaritan. And we know Samaritans were in the other category at that time. What is your ethical plumb line here at 4th UU's in Westchester County, or over in White Plains or Croton, wherever we may be? I'm moved by your affirmation on the wall, which, if I can read it from the glare on the glass, your affirmation, love is that spirit of this fellowship. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. That reads to me like your plumb line, like your conviction. But that lives up here. And we know that when we live out our life, we act from here. And we might want the two of these to be the same, but research and experience shows us that oftentimes they're not. And that is true with me. We've seen that locally in this region and in other parts of the country. I just want to give you 3 examples, one from real estate, one from law enforcement, one from healthcare. You might have remembered, perhaps from a few years ago, Newsday did an undercover investigation for 3 years of real estate agents. They had a team of 25 people who went to 97, I think it was, real estate agents They had identical financial backgrounds. Some were white, some were black or Hispanic or Asian. And they asked for the exact same thing. We're looking for a 3-bedroom house, da 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 da. And these encounters were filmed and tracked. And what they found was that there was a persistent discrimination. Asians, they registered, were discriminated against 19% of the time, Hispanics 36% of the time, and African Americans 49% of the time. And I don't necessarily believe that all those real estate agents were thinking, got Lane here looking for a house, she's black, I'm sending her over here. I'm imagining that that real estate agent is thinking, I want everyone to have a great home. And Lane, I'm just going to show you this neighborhood over here that happens to only have other people of color in it and not the neighborhoods over here. Because this is where Lane's going to be comfortable. Or there's the New Jersey State Police, who studies have shown that the incidence of traffic stops on the New Jersey Turnpike are disproportionately focused on people of color than other folks, than white folks. In healthcare, we know that African American women have 3 times the risk of dying in childbirth than white women. And there was a study of 2 million births in California a few years ago. I forget the exact numbers, but the scale I know is correct. And what they did was they were tracking the survival rates of children 1 year out from birth. And they found that wealthy white women, for every 100,000 births to wealthy white women, they were losing about 150 children before the age of 1. Wealthy white women. Poor white women came next and were losing about 250 children out of every 100,000 births before the age of 1. So we start wealthy white women, we go to poor white women. Wealthy black women were losing over 300 children before the age of 1. And poor black women were losing over 500 children before the age of 1. Do you catch that? Money did not make a difference. If you were white and poor, your health outcomes are better than if you're black and wealthy. That is unconscious bias operating, because presumably everybody in a hospital is saying we want everyone to have good care, but it isn't always the case. And then there's me. And I walk down a street and a black man is walking towards me and I clench up. I do. This guy, my heart is saying, this guy could be dangerous. And so I'm careful about that. Remember my convictions, to love my neighbor as myself. But that's up here, and down here, that guy's dangerous. And so I have to be on the lookout. My dear wife is on the call. She'll remember when we were driving in Rockville, Maryland, and we had newly moved to the area, and we had gone to a Best Buy. And coming out of the parking lot, there across a major street, and I was supposed to turn left. Coming out of that parking lot, across the street was a country club. It kind of intrigued me because there was a road that went across a field up and over a hill. You couldn't see the club. It was back behind the hill. I was kind of intrigued. And so when I pulled out, I just went straight into that little road. And Jan's like, where are you going? I'm like, why? I just want to check this out. She's like, that's a private drive. I'm like, yeah, it's okay. I'm just going to take a look. And she's like, no, we ought to turn around. And I said, sweetheart, it's no big deal. And my rational defense was, this little road that you take into the golf club, it was kind of raised up, where it went across this field. So meaning there wasn't a big area to turn around. It would have been an awkward K-turn. Easier just to go on through and I'll spin around. I'm not going to take long. And I went ahead. looked, got up and over the hill, saw the clubhouse and all that, went around the parking lot and exited. And my dear wife isn't saying a word. So my brain caught up to me when we stopped at a grocery store and we were in the frozen food section, and I just said, I want to apologize for not listening to you. And she said, you can go anywhere you want. I cannot. And our daughter was in the back seat, and you were putting us at risk. That was my white privilege. That was my white supremacy of thinking, I can do literally anything that as a white man, I can go anywhere, I can do anything that I want to do. And my wife does not experience that. And I knew that at one level, and I was just ignoring it. White supremacy is active in my own life. It's in my own head. It's in my own experiences. And of course it is. Because this is 400 years in the making. So there are times where I hear people ask a politician, are you saying that the United States is a racist country? Oh no, it's just we have a few bad apples. Hello, the answer to that question is yes, full stop. It's in our law. This is not ambiguous. And as much as we have moved on and made improvements that are significant, need to be recognized, need to be championed, need to be applauded, the reality of white supremacy remains in our society. It remains in me. It remains in you. But here's the thing. It's not our fault. Anybody see the movie Good Will Hunting with Robin Williams and Ben Affleck and Matt Damon? And you remember the scene where Robin Williams, the psychologist, is saying to Matt Damon, the troubled youth who had been abused as a boy and then has all these issues, and he says, it's not your fault. He says, yeah, I know. And Robin Williams steps a little bit closer. No, it's not your fault. Yeah, I know. He steps even closer. No, it's not your fault. Keeps on reminding him, it is not your fault. So the fact that I carry these white supremacist ideas is not my fault. But as soon as I understand that, it is, as Lane shared in her meditation, my responsibility then to do something and to respond. But unfortunately, today in our country, it is shocking to see how we are intentionally rolling back on seemingly every front efforts to promote racial justice and healing, to promote diversity, equity, inclusion. Are there issues around DEI programs? Sure. Are there issues on any other program in the country? Is there mismanagement or any fraud or any abuse in any other program in the country outside of DEI programs? I bet. Are we therefore rolling all those back? Surprisingly, no. But it seems to me on some levels that we're in a state of denial in this country, willful denial. Are folks familiar with HR 40? House Resolution 40. It is a piece of legislation that Representative John Conyers, state of Michigan, he's dead, first introduced in 1989, which calls for the study, that's it, the study of the history of racism, of slavery in this country and how that's impacted people of color. It is a study. That legislation for just a study has never been voted out of committee. Not during a time when Republicans were in control, not during a time when Democrats were fully in control. We have actively said we don't want to know about that. We don't want to shine a light on that. We don't want to focus on that. It's kind of like the move that the gun lobby had done when they used lobbyists to get legislation passed that prevents the CDC from doing studies about gun violence as a health concern in this country. We don't want to open that door of inquiry because what might happen? Same thing over here. We don't even want to study this history of slavery, Jim Crow, and this is not ancient history, how it continues through other mechanisms. We don't want to open that door. We want to keep a lid on that box. So John Conyers is dead. After introducing that legislation every year for over 20 years, and then Sheila Jackson picked up the mantle, and now she's dead. And now it's passed on to someone else. Will there be a day when we can even study this stuff? Is there an opportunity for us to do that? So how do we address this? I think there are three things that we can do individually around this issue of white supremacy. One is we need to educate ourselves. We went on a trip, Janet, my daughter Elise and I, in 2016. 2016, that is not long ago. We were living in Kansas City, and we took a weekend over in Tulsa. And my dear wife, who, if I didn't say explicitly, but I think you caught in the golf course episode, is African American. We're in Tulsa, and she's like, I'd like to go over and see the Greenwood neighborhood. I'm like, sure. What's up with the Greenwood neighborhood? Did not know. 2016. I have a high school diploma. I have a master's degree in public administration from NYU. I have my MDiv from the St. Paul School of Theology. I'm an educated person. I read. I'm a New York Times, Washington Post, The Atlantic subscriber. I did not know. We have a responsibility to know about all of this stuff. But we have a tendency to say, well, on one hand, it's true. We weren't taught about it. I didn't learn about this in high school or even in college, even in seminary. You'd think that would have been a good topic in seminary. But so the folks who were supposed to teach me didn't fulfill that call fully. But I have my own responsibility to find out. I can Google. God knows I Google about everything else, right? We have an opportunity to find and get those resources for ourselves. Second thing we can do is broaden our exposure. What media do you look at? If you're white, do you listen to any podcasts that are presented by people of color? Are you reading Black authors, seeing Black film? Are you getting, if we live in a homogenous space racially, do we get out? Do we go and visit other congregations that might be of a majority of people of color? What other ways can we expand our exposure? Because one thing we have found out about bias is that the more connections we have and experiences of other people who are different from us, then it opens up our view. And then, do we apply our ethical commitments? Are we leaning into this love command that you have with everyone? So I got out of the bathroom, and the wife says, what are you going to do tonight? And I'm like, well, I'm just going to go, where are you going to stay is what she's wondering. I'm like, well, after the wedding, I'll just drive inland someplace and I'll find something. She's like, oh, well, you shouldn't do that. And I'm thinking, I have 4 minutes to get to the wedding. I don't have time for an extended conversation. She's very kind, but I don't have time for this. She's like, you can't do that. And I'm like, it's okay. And she's like, no, we have an Airstream camper in our backyard. I'll change the sheets. We'll unlock it, just leave it open, go and have fun with your friends, and then come back and spend the night here. And I said to her and her husband, I said, that's amazingly kind for you. What could I do in return? And she said, when someone else's child lands on your doorstep, do the same thing. And I will bet you she did not think when someone else's white child lands on your doorstep. She meant if any child lands on your doorstep, do the same thing. I hope I will. Will you? Thank you. I want to give a moment of reflection time. I want to invite us just to, if you'd breathe with me 3 times. I want us a deep inhale. Count on the counts of 4. Inhale. Count to 4. Exhaling. Let's do that 2 more times. One more. I appreciate your tradition of having some conversation, some talk back after a message. I want to invite maybe a couple questions. Lane's also invited me to share a brief presentation about Interwoven and then an invitation to you. So know that we're going to have that experience too, and then it'll be an opportunity for more Q&A after that. But does anyone want to share a comment or a reflection from the sermon time that we've had?
Hi, good morning. Thank you.
Good morning.
Thank you very much for joining us and sharing this with us. Saying it is timely is a gross understatement, but I believe from daily, hourly experience that we are being assaulted through the current federal administration with an attempt to eradicate on every possible level any of the work and any of the healing and progress, which is really not the right word, but relatively speaking, that we've been able to engage in the last 80 years.
Yep.
And very, very rapidly, this is being decimated. And it's being decimated by people who are committed segregationalists and slavers. And I have no doubt. So I think we very consciously have got to get on board with beginning to figure out that we have to figure out what we're going to do, because it's about doing. And
Yeah.
I am in no way criticizing or diminishing our experience this morning, but we need less talking and more doing, if possible.
Yes, but I also, so thank you for that. I would also, my premise for today is that we're in denial. And to say we just have to go out and do, the first thing we have to do is say white supremacy is real, it exists. I, myself, as a white person, participate in it. And only with eyes wide open do we move forward, because we are not where we are as a country because of Donald Trump. He's the hood ornament on this moving vehicle of white supremacy. But that hood ornament only goes forward because there's an engine in that car, there are tires on that car, there are doors that work, and that's us. Again, it's not the Ku Klux Klan. It's all of us. So, but I do want, but action, yes, but it starts with acknowledgement, yeah.
Yeah, I do, except that's,
I'm Clyde. Can you hear me? Okay.
Yes.
I just wanted to, you mentioned the word, okay. You mentioned the word conscious, or was it unconscious? Conscious?
Well, it's unconscious
Okay.
bias. We are not aware of it.
Right. Okay, I just wanted to share, I'm a Baha'i, and in the Baha'i scriptures, the guardian of the Baha'i faith, Shoghi Effendi, in a book titled The Advent of Divine Justice, he states that white people have an unconscious sense of superiority.
There it is. Wow, did not know that, though. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm just going to take maybe two more comments because again my presentation is staying in the same lane, so we'll have more. No pun intended. So we'll be able to have more conversation about that. Yes.
Okay, I hope this is an appropriate thing to bring up now. First of all, thank you very much for your words of kindness and inspiration. I think I'm looking for a little advice. Yesterday, and I mean, this is something that sort of happens frequently. Yesterday, I was out for a walk, and I met a neighbor who I see every day out also walking her dog. And so she started talking and telling me the story about how she was at the DMV, and this black guy was helping her, and blah, blah, blah. And I was sort of waiting for that to be relevant somehow, but it wasn't. She just said, and then he was very nice, he helped me do this, blah, blah, blah. And my thinking was, so why did she mention that he was a black guy? How is that relevant to this story? And I really didn't know what to say. I didn't know is this a thing that I should address? Or
Do you know what I say to that?
Tell me.
If someone says that to me, I would say, how tall were they?
How what?
Tall.
Yeah. Yeah.
How much did they weigh?
Right, right.
What were the colors of their sneakers? And they're like, well, I don't know. Well, if you're going to tell me about their color, why don't you tell me about any other detail then? Why is just that important? It just kind of, that little question might lead someone to reflect on that a little bit. Yeah. Thank you. So one more comment.
Hi, again, thank you for being here. We're mostly the steering committee here of Race Amity of Northern Westchester and Putnam. And I'm wondering if you can recommend materials or if you have
Sure.
online,
Sure.
things, because we'd like to further this message.
Yep. So why don't we move then? That's a wonderful segue, and appreciate the help. Is it Josh? Josh, thanks for your help in queuing us up. I have a slide presentation that I'll utilize for this, and I'm going to move us through this, okay? But again, appreciate this opportunity to, and pardon me, I was using this in Topeka, Kansas, so you'll see that on the bottom of the screen. And is that going to? Let's see if that's going to move for me, Josh. I might need you to. Yeah, Josh, I'll just let you move it if you would. So when I'm meeting with congregations on this trip, I've been in the States since, and I travel quarterly in the States. I've been talking to people in North Carolina, Washington, D.C., Kansas City, Missouri, Topeka, Kansas, and here about trees. So what trees are these, would you say? Redwoods. Can you go to the next slide, Josh? And what do you know about redwoods? What's true about redwoods? We go one more, Josh. They are tallest trees in the world. My question to you is, how deep do those roots go, would you guess? Give me a guess. Some say shallow. 100 feet, maybe? 5. Someone in Topeka said, as deep as the tree's high. That's not right. Josh, next slide. So, and you can hit it twice. So yes, as folks here are on it, redwood tree roots are shallow. They go laterally, not deep. And that is the key to their strength. When the wind blows, these enormous trees remain upright because they're interconnected. That's what we need to do. As people of conscience, of different faith traditions, we need to link up to gain strength and to mutually support one another. That's what we're about with Interwoven Congregations and building a network that's linked up like that so we can leverage the strength from one another to weather these storms and carry forward the work that needs to be done. So I just want to say a quick thing about, so our mission, and one more, Josh, is to help faith communities be agents for racial justice and healing, period. Next up. And that's saying that in many places, the Black church has been out in front on these issues forever. The white church, not so much. And there are certainly white congregations that have been champions, have been valiant. But by and large, the white church has been, unfortunately, in our history, an engine of racial oppression. That's just history. But we can do different. And there are more and more folk who want to do different. So I want to just show you quickly our Interwoven team. So we have a governing board of folks who are great. And you can go on to the next one. And this is our advisory team, and delighted to have people from around the country. Dr. Catherine Meeks, if you don't know that name, Google her. She is extraordinary. She's out of the Episcopal tradition, and we're, again, blessed to have people around the country, and also, to have Ambassador Young on our advisory board is an honor and a gift for us. Next up. So I want to talk about our, how we work. And we work three ways. So the first is through online consulting with congregations, because I'm based in the Netherlands and I'm connecting. I used to be based in Bethesda, Maryland, and I was still on Zoom with folks. So whether my box is from Bethesda or Groningen, we're still doing the Zoom thing for a lot of meetings and connections with folks. So but we also do online events that Gretchen was a part of, with our MLK reading, which is fantastic. Next slide, please. We also have online tools. You were mentioning, what resources are there, so we have a lot of stuff online. And then next, then we do in-person events and consulting. I'm in the States quarterly and connecting with people around special activities. So we can go on. So I want to talk to you about. This is a quick word of emphasis. Hit this 3 times, if you would, Josh. Just underscore that we work with congregations, but this is your work. I was in a congregation doing a presentation, and at the end of it, during a worship service, I went to the back of the church with the pastor, and people were coming out after the service saying, thank you for the message, pastor, and all that. I didn't preach, but the pastor had. But a gentleman comes up to me, and he says, good luck with your project. You hear that? Good luck with your project. This is not my project. This is our project, but the congregations locally own it. So that's an emphasis that we try to make. And next one up. And then our role is to be encouragers. We have some guidance to share because we've picked up a thing or two, but we're also learning from congregations. And again, the biggest contribution we want to do is to help create this root system between congregations so that you all potentially could learn from Watt Street Baptist Church in Durham, North Carolina, who's got it going on. Or, perhaps you could help teach somebody in Topeka, Kansas of, an angle of racial justice that you've been working on. So that's what we're aiming to do. Okay, next up. So we think there are 4 building blocks to racial justice. What would you guess those 4 are? 4 things that you need to be about if we're going to advance racial justice in our society today. Somebody give me 1. Education. What else? Participation. What else? Friendship. What else? Yeah. Ma'am, to your earlier comment, do something. Commitment. There's one that we kind of haven't gotten. We've gotten 3 of the 4. That's key. That's also key. I'm going to go ahead and we'll unpack them. So, Josh, so yes, we have to learn. Next. Building relationships across the divide of race. Next. Taking action. And next, we got to sustain the work. People get tired. And one of the key ways that we sustain this work is by rooting it in our plumb line, rooting it in our tradition, in our faith traditions that can encourage us, support us, challenge us, kick us in the butt if we need to get moving, if we're just being complacent. So we need to realize that the work of racial justice is not the jello that you pick up when you go through the buffet. It's main course. If we're going to be authentic UUs, we're authentic Presbyterians or whatever, but authentic Baha'is, we need to be about this work. Okay, next one. I'm going to show you a couple things just of how this looks. Oh, run through this, like 6 times. This is just our theory of change then, when we mix the learning and relationship building to take action, undergird that with our ethical commitments and other ways that we sustain it, then, and keep going, we think that can lead you to measures of racial justice and healing. Measures. We got a long way to go. There is progress that we can make and we need to make, and we have to be attentive to what are the impacts of what we're doing to keep ourselves accountable for results in this work. But this is long, this is centuries in the making, it's going to take a while, but we can make advances in progress. Okay, so then just taking a peek, we first have, what's our foundation, and we can go on. And hit the next 2. The first foundation is, again, connecting with our faith understanding and teaching about this. And next, we have a special online resource. It's a questionnaire that congregations can take. Just hit like 5 of them, Josh. And they ask you, what's the founding of the circumstances of your founding of your congregation? What racial justice issues are important to you? How have you worked to build relationships across the divide of race? One more, Josh. What are your strengths or weaknesses in your congregation? It's a snapshot of your congregation. Where are we? And we've invited people for their leadership teams, their anti-racism teams, to take this and then sit down and you see, well, what did our team think? And what I've had congregations tell me is it's been really interesting to see the range of outlook on our team. Some folk on our team think that one of the questions is, how far along are we? And some folk on our team think we're almost there. We're rock stars. We're doing it. And other people on the team feel we've barely gotten going. That's interesting to explore. But this lifts up what are some possible next steps for us as a congregation. Next up, we have a pledge which just says, hey, and we recommend if you haven't made a public affirmation of your commitment, this could be something that you use or you make a variation of it. We're committing to being an agent for racial justice and healing, right? That's our core goal, and we're going to do it by deepening our understanding, education, building relationships, taking concrete steps, and grounding it all in our ethical commitments. So those, again, and you can go to the next for me, Josh. And move on through this. This is just the second one, Josh. We did interviews, 20 people between 2 congregations. Asked them, how has race or privilege touched your life? What hopes do you have for this anti-racism work between your 2 congregations? What concerns do you have? That's a really neat activity to do when you're starting out, to reach out and get people thinking, talking, sharing about this. Next, please, Josh. So then we get into learning, and we do this a number of ways. And keep going. So we'll help congregations with some online activities. You got a second one there, Josh. And let's go on next. We have online study groups. Hit this 2 more times for me, Josh. So we facilitated discussion groups around these topics. I'm going to write a post on in defense of study groups because I think they get slammed these days. Study groups linked to then action, I think, are absolutely vital. If we all we do is study, then yeah, that's not very helpful. But linked to doing action is key. Next. We've supported some professional online training that we've helped raise money for. Next. And Gretchen was a part of our public reading from King's Letter from Birmingham Jail. And next, and hit it 5 times for me, Josh. And these are just people who are reading excerpts from King's. We read the whole letter, which was powerful. 24 people across the U.S., England, and Ghana took part. Next. Here's that Mel Hardy is in the left, standing up the tallest on the left with the blue suit, black suit, blue tie. This is this Shape of Power exhibit in Washington, D.C. It was named in President Trump's executive order on, quote, restoring truth and sanity to American history, and identified this as an exhibit that needed to be rooted out from our cultural institutions. So part of what Interwoven is about is, what are the cultural resources in your midst that you can tap into to further learn yourself and to keep pressing forward on what can we do next. Next, please. We also help facilitate pilgrimages, some in the local area. This is with DC congregations going to the Eastern Shore to follow the steps of Harriet Tubman. Next. We organized a small one that went to the Deep South, and here we are with a group of folks down in Alabama. And next. And you just see our route of going around Alabama, and you can go next for me, Josh. There's a power to walking across that bridge. You can read about it, you can see a video about it, but when you walk across that bridge, that is an experience. You don't realize how high that bridge is. When you're on this side, on the town side of that bridge, where the march started, the pitch is high. And what that means is they did not know what was waiting for them until you get up to the top of that. And then only the leaders saw the line of state police and all the patrol cars and everyone with their clubs waiting. And the people down behind them still didn't know. And the leaders pressed on. Next slide. So that was all about learning. Then relationship building. Let's roll through these. And we do that online. We keep going. Congregations doing stuff together. Keep going. We go through this, Josh. And you can keep going. Here, really, doing stuff, learning activities is also relationship building. Keep going. We have some discussion cards that we've created. I have a deck for Lane and a deck for the White Plains folks. I might have one for my Baha'i friends too. Okay, let's keep going. Then we talk about taking action. Let's go. Do online events around voting rights. Let's go. Here we're doing postcard campaigns. Don't know if folks have done anything like that with Center for Common Ground is great. Here's our march back in 2022 where I was hooking up with the UU the Vote. Now let's go to the next. This is 2024 where we brought those buses up from Georgia. You can keep going. There's Ambassador Young doing the address to our kickoff event. And next, the folks on that bus, one more. Many had never been out of Georgia. So we took them on a tour of DC monuments and got out at the MLK Memorial, which was a powerful time of connection. Next. And skip this. This is just a guide to assess your own congregation. Here's a group of us. This is 10 days ago in Washington, D.C., just a group of congregations. We're putting a grant together to promote anti-racism work in the district, and hopefully we'll get it. Last section, sustaining the work. Next. My dear wife put on, who does work in racial justice as well, led this webinar around racial healing. Next. We have some spiritual resources. Next. Where we facilitated, this was for a Bible study between two congregations. Next. We have some resources on our website if folks want to look at biblical resources. We need some Baha'i resources on our website, some resources from the Quran and other spiritual texts. Next. And we're doing a devotion right now. Let's move on. And sustaining the work by coming together in our faith tradition is key too. Then next on. Two just upcoming events I want to let you know about. We're doing a roundtable conversation with two pastors who also are leaders in the NAACP. They're going to talk about how the NAACP is doing that work today and how congregations can be involved. Next. You're going to have to kick it like 3 times on this, Josh. And then go on. And then on June 19th, and you can click it 2 more times, we're doing a public reading of Dr. Annette Gordon Reed's text on Juneteenth. And that's going to be, 1 more time, Josh. And I'll send Lane links so you can see these things. If you're interested, you can register for them. And next on. And so those are the 4 blocks. And so that's what this is about. We do have an invitation for you to join the network, and I can share a bit about that, but I want to cut it at that and see if there are questions, comments from folks. Yeah. We're moving to the coffee hour. And there is some amazing cupcakes that I've seen come in, and there's other stuff.
Don't let them lose yet. We have
But
oh,
but I also brought you some Dutch cheese from Groningen. I've got some goat cheese truffle back there, which is out of sight, and then another old Dutch cheese. So, all right, we're not done. We're here. Focus here. Thank you.
Sure. Talk about and then we will extinguish our chalice and have our sung benediction. Please rise in body or spirit. Our closing hymn is number 95, There is More Love Somewhere. Reverend Jackson, thank you for that wonderful message.
There is more love somewhere. There is more love somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more love somewhere. There is more hope somewhere. There is more hope somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more hope somewhere. There is more peace somewhere. There is more peace somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more peace somewhere. There is more joy somewhere. There is more joy somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more Lord somewhere.
Thank you. And please join me in thanking our musicians, our worship associates, and particularly Reverend Pat Jackson for that message this morning. Our chalice closing words can be found in our order of service. Please join me in reciting them. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of love, fellowship, and truth. May we hold it in our hearts until we gather again.